Arrived at last in Tehran, we filled and refilled our hotel bathtubs and wallowed again and again, scrubbing every clogged pore. Then we shook out our bags and laundered every item of clothing, used and unused, remarking how the cloth was already beginning to show signs of the disintegration we had been warned to expect. Paddy took us into his confidence. He had decided against heading due east towards Masad and Afghanistan. He didn't feel comfortable with the volatile Afghan temperament, and neither, from what he had read and heard, would we. He favoured the southern route via Isfahan, Yazd, Kerman and Zahedan, even though it meant crossing the Dasht-e Lut desert. There the jinns were reputed to be so devilish that travellers were cautioned to sleep with the soles of their feet pressed against a companion's lying in the opposite direction, so that demons had no chance to steal their souls. Were we game for this longer route? Offered that pearl of Islamic culture, how could we say no to Isfahan, even though it lay 435 kilometres from Tehran, along some pretty indifferent roads? To get there we would have to pass Qom, where Ayatollah Khomeini had studied, was already preparing to undermine the Shah's regime, and would later be arrested and condemned to exile, whence he would return in triumph in 1979, having engineered the Shah's downfall. Back in 1957, Imam Khomeini hadn't quite perfected his talent for swaying Iranians with denunciations of every human vice, from drinking alcohol to reading Salman Rushdie's satanic verses. But the mood of things to come was already apparent. Paddy made it clear he would not be stopping at Qom, despite its importance to Shiite Muslims since early Islamic times, and the fact that housing the lavish tomb of Fatima al-Masumah, it had been a goal of pilgrims since the 17th century. In case the bus was delayed for any reason, all women in our party were requested to have a headscarf ready for use and to wear skirts instead of shorts and jeans. Qum's golden dome beckoned like a siren beacon as we passed, but we averted our gaze and spurned temptation. Isfahan more than compensated. It lay at the heart of ancient Persia, both geographically and culturally, a veritable treasure house of all that was beautiful in Islamic architecture. Here flourished the golden age of Persian art, science and literature, during the centuries when Europe was still struggling to light the candles that would dispel the Dark Ages. Most of its landmarks had survived intact since the installation as capital of the Persian kingdom during the Safavid dynasty. An early European visitor to Isfahan was Sir Charles Chardin, son of a Huguenot Paris jeweller, who arrived in 1666 at the death of Shah Abbas II, following which he observed the coronation of Shah Safi, who became Suleiman III. Chardin was fascinated by the pigeon towers he found in vast numbers around the city, and was amazed to learn that these derived from the local obsession with melons. In a published account of his travels, he wrote that the people live upon nothing else but melons and cucumbers. There are some that will eat 35 pounds of melon at a meal without making themselves sick. During these 4 months, they come in such vast quantities to Isfahan that I can't help believing they eat more here in a day than they do in France in a month. We were in luck. The melon wave had followed us to that true blue Islamic paradise, and we gorged to an extent that we would have shocked even Sir John. From time immemorial, pigeon dung had been seen as the best manure for melon crops, accounting for one of the most remarkable eccentricities of Iranian architecture. The pigeon towers surrounding the city were built for the purpose of enticing birds to nest in their tops, so their dung would fall on the bottom in conveniently harvestable heaps. Pausing to fix a broken spring in Kerman, we headed for the worst obstacle of the entire journey, the infamous Dasht-e Lut desert, spanning the first leg of a 340-mile journey to Zahedan. What we found more than fulfilled our expectations. We also encountered desultory and uninspiring evidence of an attempt to build a road across it. Alphonse Gabriel, one of the earliest explorers in this area, described the sand sea as a confused mass of impassable, tangled dunes. He noted dunes up to 150 meters tall, of uniform size, almost perfectly round, and containing an admixture of volcanic material. A volcano with a small caldera lay on the western edge of this desolation, its topography creating changes in the orientation of prevailing wind patterns. We took our place at the end of a convoy of trucks, lined up in preparation to essay the worst of the void the moment the sun went down. Most of these were heavy-duty Mercedes diesels, with high wheelbases and 6 to 8 wheels designed for maximum traction on minimum areas of purchase. Their drivers regarded our bus with initial amazement, quickly replaced by contempt, but they were sympathetic and hospitable towards these foolish enough to risk their lives in such an unsuitable and ill-equipped conveyance, inviting us to share with them their shade and their coffee. At 6 o'clock, an angry red glow behind us in the west marked the demise of the sun, clinging to the lip of the land like the snarl of a ferociously large animal dragged to its death. We busied ourselves in preparation for departure. Paddy, sporting a coiled turban donated to him by a truck driver he had befriended, announced he had done a deal with the man in question, whom we promptly named Edward G. Robinson, for his startling resemblance to that pugnacious actor. The deal was that, for an undisclosed sum of money, his Mercedes would tow us across the sands, his crew working alongside us to keep both vehicles moving. We had planks for the wheels, a plenitude of ropes and shovels, and shoulders to apply to the back end of the bus, the sides and everywhere that required such assistance.